We are virgins no longer.
So a little fun fact about Greece.
In a boat, we're Americans. We're going to spend money. And at the risk of sounding morbid,
The oldest travel influencers on the podcast scene at some point here. So Chuck and I are happy to take your calls. Well, if I had a secretary, we're separate but equal. Someone has to like me best. Enough money and time, you can do anything you want in this world.
the man, the myth, and legend.
I got a Volvo.
Not a political statement.
Travel like something is potentially going wrong. Extra underwear. You can't wear shorts everywhere.
Chuck decides to move to France.
Well, first of all, let's just say this. Everybody get your passports. Who's coming? I'll fight you.
I'm not trying to be funny. They speak the language.
Today's my last day. We're just going to shut down right here.
We spent 4 days of the cruise in our cabins dying.
And if you're sick, don't travel. Ever handsome, ever friendly, ever wonderful. It's not that I don't like children.
She's very picky about everything but her men.
I do believe I proclaimed for the spirit that day. Because I don't wear pajamas.
And last week on Life in the Baggage Claim. Welcome to Life in the Baggage Claim. This podcast is a weekly podcast, all things travel. My name is Chuck Longerbeam. I'm a cruise planner, travel advisor in Charlottesville, Virginia. And with me always is my amazingly handsome, unbelievably intelligent co-host, Jim Hauck. Jim, how are you today?
Well, I don't feel so handsome, but wow, what a lead up. I feel amazing. Thanks for the affirmations this morning. I'm Jim Hauck. I, too, am a cruise planner, and I'm down here in good old Dallas, Texas, where the rain keeps coming and the rivers keep flowing, and it's been a very cool summer. We have not broken 100 degrees yet for a series of days. So hell is just around the corner somewhere.
Well, I think you gave it to us. It's been hotter than well, I won't tell you what my son says, but it calls it, but it's been very hot this summer. It's been one of those summers where you get out of the shower, you get yourself ready to work or go to wherever you're going to go. And by the time you get to the car, you feel like you need another shower. So
yeah, that's usually what it's like. Come 4th of July weekend here, we head into our week-long stretches of those temperatures, and we have yet to break once. So it's been a nice summer, a good summer for traveling.
Yes, it's always a good time to travel. And Jim, talking about travel, today we are going to be talking about the mouse. We're going to be talking about all things Disney, land, and sea. Mickey, the other mouse.
The other mouse.
All things land and sea. So as I'm assuming everyone knows, well, everybody on the planet knows about Disney World and Disneyland, and then Euro Disney and so on and so forth. But I'm assuming most folks also know that Disney offers cruises and has become a huge player in the cruise world. So we're going to talk about that today. Jim, have you ever been on a Disney cruise or been to Disney World?
My very first cruise was a Disney cruise on the Disney Magic.
Okay.
On the inaugural sailing of it. So
the big red boat.
No, not the red. No, the Magic, which was the first of their cruise ships.
My apologies.
We saw the red boat sitting in the dock. Yeah, that was back. So the big red boat, for those of you who don't know, was the company Disney worked with to deliver Disney-themed cruises before they got into it on their own. And it was indeed a big red boat. It was an old line. It was sort of not really up to Disney standards. So I took my mom and my partner at the time, and we did this thing Disney was offering for a week where you went and cruised for 3 days, went to the park for 4 days. And so off we went to Disney World. We were virgin cruisers, so we were very scared. We didn't know if we were going to be sick or not. We had a balcony room with an obstructed view, which was fine. And we fell in love with Disney cruises right away. And the Disney Magic was quite a thing to get on at that time.
Fantastic. And I'm assuming, I have not been on a Disney cruise. We missed the, one of the things I want to talk about today is misconceptions. So I felt like we missed the window. My son is 28. Right when Disney cruises really started to become a thing, he was already past I'm interested in Disney. I mean, everyone's got a soft spot in their heart for Disney, but he was at the age where going on a boat with a bunch of kids doing Disney was completely out of his, thought process. But the misconception I want to talk about today is I've talked to folks and talking to you and everything else that Disney cruises are not just for kids anymore.
No, in fact, I think that misconception is something we learned real fast on our first cruise with them was the ships was smaller. That ship has actually been cut and opened and, expanded. There were 600 kids on our cruise, and I don't think we saw them until dinner usually because Disney's so good at putting the kids in a place and keeping a place for adults. I think that's the one thing that has always stuck in my mind is that despite it being a very children-oriented cruise, Disney knows the real kids who are going are us.
Right, of course, we're paying the bills. Let's be realistic. But yeah, well, I read about the youth clubs. So there are youth clubs for all age groups, and there are highly trained people. Vernacular, my vernacular, they're basically really high-end, well-trained babysitters that watch your kids, but the kids are not bored. There's crazy amounts of stuff on the boat, and that's when the adults can go be adults. But I was also reading about the shows and these Broadway-quality shows. Of course, they're all Disney themed, but the shows look pretty spectacular, and that's all wrapped in, and then 24-hour room service, and like for any adults listening right now thinking not Disney cruise, it sounds to me like a Disney cruise could be, if you've got Disney in your heart, if you will, it sounds to me like a Disney cruise could be great from 3 to 99. Like everyone will love a Disney cruise.
Yeah, I think the only person it would really not be right for is if you want a casino. There is no casino on a Disney cruise. They do not do casinos.
Not always a bad thing.
No,
not a bad thing.
But not only are the shows good, the food is entertainment. Right, dining is a show.
Right.
Every dining, when we went on, they had the artist's lounge. This was a long time ago, so I don't remember what it's got a different name now. But when they would bring up, the whole place was decorated in black and white renderings of different Disney characters. And the cast was in black and white clothing. And as they came out, little things would appear and show on the walls. And then for dessert, the whole place would go dark. And then it would come to life in color, and the cast would come out in color, and it was sort of fun. And your dessert was all splashes of color like a palette and such, so it was really good.
Well, and you just said something that's very interesting that goes across, in my opinion, all Disney properties is the boats and the land properties. Is Disney? I think the brilliance of Disney is that they know when to change, and they know when to change things up. So if you go to, I'm assuming any Disney thing, any Disney event, if you go, year one and then 5 years later and then 10 years later, the idea of the place is going to be the same, but the things to do there will have changed enough that it's always going to be fresh. And I think that's the brilliance of it. There's a local, it's called King's Dominion. I think everybody's heard of King's Dominion, not too far, about an hour from us. And they're fantastic, don't get me wrong. But they change very slowly. If you like this certain roller coaster, you go 10 years in a row, you're probably going to see it 10 years in a row. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It has its place. But when you look at Disney, I was doing some research yesterday about Disney World, because like I said, I haven't been there about 15 years. And a lot of the things that I remember that I loved, they're changing, but then they're smart enough to, like the Haunted Mansion, they're very clear. The Haunted Mansion will never be gone. They tweak it slightly inside, but the Haunted Mansion will probably be there long after you and I are gone and our kids are gone. Because
one of the fun things they've done with Haunted Mansion is do the whole Halloween overlay with Jack Skellington. What's his name? Jack Skellington. Jack Skellington. Yeah, for Halloween, and that's kind of a cool way. And they do that for the Christmas time, so they bring in a fresh theming to the Haunted Mansion. And I think that's cool. I think the new Ship the Treasure is the one that has the Haunted Mansion bar on it.
Yes, and I have got to tell you, it intrigues the hell out of me. I saw that, and I was like, ooh.
I think of all the attractions at Disney, that's still by far the one I love the most, because
Haunted Mansion's killer. It was so great. Part of the fun, but yeah.
Else, yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. I love it. But we'll get to the land stuff in a minute. But getting back to the, there's adult nightlife on the Disney cruises again. So look at it this way: if you're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, and you're considering a Disney cruise, if you've got kids, the kids are taken care of. That's not an issue. It's never been an issue. Disney World, Disneyland, let's face it, the kids are taken care of, meaning your kids are not going to get bored. Your kids are going to feel magical the entire time. That's not the issue. I want to talk to the adults in the room, because we're the ones, A, that pay for it, and B, we've ascertained that Jim doesn't like kids.
It's not that I don't like kids. I don't want my own kids. I love other people's kids that are well-behaved and mannered.
Okay, I'm sorry. Jim doesn't like some kids. I couldn't resist. No, anyway, if you're a person who is not amenable to kids running around and acting like wild children, which a lot of us are. Don't get me wrong. I'm just
like Lord of the Flies. Okay,
I understand. I just have to tease you because it's beautiful. But no, but I mean, and Jim, you're the perfect person to talk about it because you do. And I'm not messing with you, but you don't like a bunch of kids running around making noise, which is fine. That's your right. But you've just told me you were on a Disney cruise, and you're like, we didn't see the kids till dinner time.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes. And then take that the next step. Disney has really ramped it up, and there is adult entertainment. There's nightclubs. There's all sorts of nightlife for the parents and the adults.
But as compared to last week when we talked about adult entertainment on a Virgin cruise.
For everybody. And I know if I'm thinking of going on vacation, let's say I only have one child, but let's say I had two small children, reasonably 6, 7, 8 years old. If my wife and I could go on a cruise and actually be on a cruise, and by that I mean, maybe go to a nightclub at night, get a couple drinks, and have some adult entertainment, and also know that my kids are having the time of their life. That's a huge draw, and that's a huge. Well, that's why Disney is Disney. But I mean, that's a pretty huge thing to think to yourself. Hey, we could kill two birds with one stone, and we could have you can have an amazing adult time, the kids can have an amazing time, and then you can have an amazing family time. And they've done things like the staterooms are a little bit oversized. They specialize in connecting staterooms, so you don't ever have to worry about that. There's a door between you and your kids. You don't have to go out in the hallway. Your kids don't have to be exposed, for lack of a better term, while they're coming to see you. So there's that little bit of security and so on and so forth. But
let's be honest, when Disney brought out their ships, they sort of pushed the whole industry to change a little bit because Disney was keen on bringing back the romance of cruise lines, and that's why their ships are black. That's why they were the first ships to come out in a big, nice color. And that's why they have the pointed bow. That's why they have the funnels like they do. That's why they have the bridge the way they do. It was all meant to harken back to an era, a glory days of cruising when that was an opulent, expensive way to go. And they kitted out their ships at the time very much in that style. And I understand from folks who have even gone on the Magic recently that despite it's gone through a couple retrofits, it still feels that magic. They still keep to that way. They've taken some stuff out. They put some stuff in like they do on every ship, but it does still have that elegance level of cruising.
And that's there are a lot of great cruise lines out there, and there are great cruise lines that have things for kids and adults, but I can't imagine anybody does it quite like Disney.
Yeah. Just because you got water slides and theme parking upstairs doesn't mean you're got covered the kids with stuff.
Right. Your entire theme is not kid related, but Disney is, and we're all big kids at heart. And I'll be the first one. So, did you have anything else you wanted to say about the Disney cruises before
let's talk more about just Disney in general.
Okay. Well, I was going to pivot to the land stuff. I have to admit, I'm a relatively large old fart, and I still have a soft spot in my heart for Disney.
So did you grow up watching Walt Disney on TV?
Please, every Sunday night I had to have my bath and be ready to use
Omaha's Wild Kingdom, right?
Yes, sir. I had to have that was the deal my parents made. I had to have my bath and had to be ready for bed before I could sit down and watch The Wonderful World of Disney. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's addicted. Everybody was. And then the what was it? The Mouseketeers and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We all people of our generation, that was that and the Muppet Show.
That was a Sunday night. That's what you did.
Well, that and the Muppet Show were like religion. I mean, but which Disney now owns, so that's really cool too. But so let's pivot a little bit. So
Disney owns every franchise I fell in love with: Star Wars, the Muppets.
Absolutely,
it's like one of those the DC, is it right, or Marvel, where they buy? It's just like they're pretty smart at who they pick up. Let me tell you. I mean, it is an IP ownership company.
Absolutely, well, they're brilliant because like little things like you said, like the Muppets. Like our generation grew up with the Muppets, and I'll go into my little Muppet thing for 1 second here, but Jim will tell you anybody our age will tell you any celebrity, rock star, anybody who went on the Muppets instantly got more cachet. I remember when Ozzy Osbourne was on the Muppets and they had the flying bats behind him, and all the metalheads were like, cool. Like the Muppets just transcended everything, as does Disney. So getting back to the Disney. But anyway, Jim, I'm assuming you've been to Disney World like all good Americans.
I've been to Disneyland and Disney World. So
I've not been to Disneyland. I do know, fun fact I learned about when I was at Disney World is that Disneyland will fit on the parking lot of the Magic Kingdom. And I have
Disneyland, not the entire Disneyland complex, because it's bigger now. But the original Disneyland, yes.
Right. But And I have, in fact, I have driven around Disneyland. I was out there for a conference and I drove around it, but I never went. Anyway, but Disney World obviously is the shining star, and everyone knows there's four kingdoms and two huge water parks. But I did a deep dive yesterday, and like I said, Disney is in the middle of, they're doing it right now. They're in the middle of changing or refurbishing, rehabbing, whatever you want to call it, a bunch of the stuff that we grew up with. For example, they're taking, oh, I should have written it down. They're taking one of the things out now. It's going to be a Cars universe from the movie
Cars. Disneyland, they're taking Rivers of America out. Yep. And they're taking the steamship and the pirate boat out. I got to tell you, I have a beef with Disney over that, because
Me too.
Those were two attractions that were big, and one of the reasons I liked them was at night. They'd use them for the night parades sometimes. They do that. Fantastic. And I mean, Tom Sawyer's Island, I could care less. I wasn't a big Tom Sawyer's Island fan, but I do struggle with them taking that out, because I feel like that's a piece of the history that belongs to the park, that losing it cuts a lot of history out of there just for an attraction called Cars and a Cars Land.
No, I agree with you 100%.
I get its evolution, and in sure. LA, they're space-bound, right?
Yeah.
So when they built California Adventure, they had to tear out part of the parking lot and build big garages. Now they tear out another chunk, and then they built the Star Wars land. Big chunk of the parking lot goes away, more garages. But if you look at their multi-year plan, which you can go see on the Walt Disney Company's site and all that, you can see in Disneyland all the land they own that has stuff on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a whole bunch of little hodunk, little tiny hotels and motels and Holiday Inns that, sorry, I had to do it, that sit there on the road, that they own all that property, and they have not yet chosen to expand. And part of it is they have to cross some major roads, which would mean in for a big infrastructure change. I mean, I remember when you used to go there as a kid, it was still a very small thing. You drove into it like a big parking lot and way out, and you walked all the way up to the end.
Oh, yeah.
It's very different now. It feels like a very different thing to go to.
Absolutely.
A good thing.
Right. And then, of course, the other attraction for Disney World is you can stay on site. And there's Disney being the brilliant company that they are, and I mean that honestly, is, there's the frontier world kind of almost camp, with the RV park and the camping, and then there's what is that monster, like that future hotel that, what's that?
Contemporary.
Yeah, where the monorails go through.
Contemporary, which is a little bit like Futureland, with Tomorrowland, which is a little bit not so contemporary anymore. But
although they're upgrading that too.
Yeah, it's getting the whole what is the theme? The Incredibles theme in there, right?
Yep. But yeah, and then my wife and I stayed years and years ago at the Port Orleans, which is
where I stayed.
Port Orleans, which is New Orleans based, and they had a Cajun restaurant in there, and Disney is brilliant in that. So if you're on a budget, you can stay off site. And you can drive in and park, and then do the shuttle back and forth. That's fine. If you want to go for it and do the thing, you can stay on site. And there are certain perks that come with being on site. First of all, the shuttles, you get different discounts, and you get different. Yeah, I think if you're staying on site, you get to go an hour before everybody else. They do all sorts of cool stuff. So there are other perks from being on site. But the theme of the on-site hotel, they're amazing. I mean, it's just, Disney's brilliant in that when you're on their property, you're never not at Disney. And what I mean by that, not obviously you're there physically, but I mean, there's characters, there's themes, it's just that place. Yeah.
Everything. There's nothing that isn't Disney. Every little detail, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Carving on the door, the little things on the car. I mean, it's all Disney. And that's the same on the cruises too. That's probably Disney's biggest secret in their sauce, right? Is that they hit you with their branding and imagery everywhere, just so you were so into it, right? And that's great.
Oh, absolutely. When I can remember we were in the Magic Kingdom, and there's for those of you who've never been there or have not seen this part, there's a little boutique called Bippity Boppity Boutique, and you actually take your younger children in, and they dress your little girl up like a princess, and if you take your boy in, they dress them up like a knight.
Because I'm sure the boys can be princesses too.
I discriminate against no one. It's okay. But no, I mean, but just I'll never forget, because seeing these little girls, mostly, not that the boys didn't enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but seeing these little girls in these dresses and the whole thing, and the tiaras and all that kind of stuff, it was just so cute. You could just, you could tell that was something they were going to remember for the rest of their lives. And I was actually teasing my wife about it last night, and I was saying, we should go back and take you to Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. I already treat you like a queen. You might as well dress like one, and you can imagine that went over well. But no, it's and then the rides. That's the other thing. If you're a ride junkie, my son and I are roller coaster junkies, and they have got amazing rides. And one of our favorites was in Hollywood Studios, and you were talking about going back to what they were doing with the cruise ships and everything else. There's that golden age of Hollywood feel to it, and and the Indiana Jones thing, stunt thing and all of that. But just all of it is phenomenal. And there's the Rock and Roller Coaster, which was by Aerosmith. Now it's going to be
Fantastic Four or something like that now, right?
Yeah, the ride is going to be exactly the same. They're basically just changing the signage.
Well, excuse me, the movie studio, right? The MGM Studios, as it was called when it first opened.
Mm-hmm.
That whole land is going through a huge transformation too. Yeah. It was never heavy on rides. It had a lot of minor attractions, and the roller coaster was the biggest thing, and then the drop zone went in there, right? The Twilight Zone, Tower of Terror.
Yeah, Tower of Terror, which I don't like rides that go up and down like that, but Tower of Terror is the greatest thing on the planet.
So yeah, I think that you're right. The one thing I think Disney does get credit for is there is a lot of change happening. But what I love that's going on right now with Disney is there was a bit of this, everything was driven by IP era that went on when Michael Eisner was there, right? And he was a good guy for the company. He did a great job of elevating it. Sure. But everything started to become like, let's splash up a video. That'll be good enough. Don't build anything. Just put a video up, right?
Right.
And Disney was infamous for building animatronics and 3D, their experience is 3D without film, right? Because I could just build a simulator and throw you in it and let you play everything you want, right? I think what's nice is there's sort of a refocus. I know they announced the D23 and D24, lots of money going into the parks. I think it's like a $20 billion investment, something like that. It's crazy. But it is a refurbishment, and Disney's always keeping their things well maintained. Let's not get that wrong. But updating was important, right? They still have, as everyone will talk about, they have the Tomorrowland problem, which is Tomorrowland looks like yesterday's news. It has for 30 years, Correct. So what do? How do you take that? And they're trying to work on what's more future-proofed that still works. There had been the idea floated years ago about calling it yesterday's Tomorrowland, which was kind of a cute way to look at it, because now with all the interest in kind of retro stuff, it would be fun to have that done. But in the Disneyland park, there's a lot of stuff in there that doesn't work anymore. They destroyed the people mover by putting those rod rockets on there that that basically cracked all the cement and ruined it. So they don't have that anymore. And then a lot of the other attractions are slowly just sort of turned away. But you say you love roller coasters, and I think it's interesting to think that Disneyland's first roller coaster was the mountain. I can't remember the name of it.
I'm trying to remember myself.
And then then they put Space Mountain. Those were the two big.
Space Mountain. Thank you. Yes.
But there's the one in the Snowy Cup, the Swiss-based one. It'll come to me right after we get off this. And I'm starting to feel old right now because I can't remember these things. But I think those are the first two roller coasters. Otherwise, attractions at Disney have generally been like PG to PG-13, right? They're not highly exciting, but they were still so good. I mean, who didn't want to get on Peter Pan's pirate ship and fly around?
Absolutely. Well, Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, talk about a rated G thing. I mean, as far as like, the worst case scenario is you get a little splashed from the cannonballs, but it's a great ride still.
It's interesting. Pirates of the Caribbean and Disney World, you go up first. Pirates of Disneyland World, in Disneyland, you go down first.
Interesting.
So there's differences in the way the ride track works, right? I would say going to Disney World, if you've been a Disneyland only person, the one thing you will find out is everything in Disneyland is broken up into bigger areas, and you will walk a lot more.
Oh, okay. Well, and let's not forget, we're talking to adults. I mean, obviously the kids are sold on Disney World. You take any kid in the United States right now, 12 or younger, to wake them up and ask them if they want to go to Disney World tomorrow. The answer is yes. Let's be real. So talking about adults again, let's not forget and I've done this, the drinking around Epcot, drinking around the world, which if you don't know what that is, Epcot is a circle. The World Showcase is a circle around a big lake, and you go to each of the different countries, and you start on either end, and you have a cocktail or a beer or something in each one. And I promise you, even unless you're full blown, you're gonna be feeling something when you round about the time you hit Canada.
And just a reminder, folks, when you're full blown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Because
there's a
one
segue.
video where everybody's going to go, they don't know as much about Disney as they think they do. Because there's probably somebody out there, and there always will be, who knows much more about Disney than we do.
Oh,
There are some
absolutely.
fanatics out there. But you're right. I loved Epcot when I went the first time. I was like, very surprising. And that whole goal they had originally of every country being showcased was kind of a cool concept. That was part of Walt's big vision, was always uniting the world, right? He wanted to see a world where everybody was happy and got along.
Well, it's interesting because for those of you who listened last week or didn't, we were talking about Virgin Cruises, and we spent quite a bit of time on the food because the food is absolutely freaking amazing. But it's interesting. You said about uniting people, and this may sound cheesy, but I know people who don't travel, and I know people who have lived in the same hometown for years and years and have maybe gone to another state or two. Just going around Epcot and eating at each of the individual restaurants, which, by the way, the food is
Very good.
well, it's very good, but it's absolutely authentic to the country you're in, because Disney, being the brilliant company they are, like if you go to Japan at Epcot, there are nothing but Japanese people working there. I mean, they are smart enough to bring in folks from that country. So the food is spot on. So if nothing else, if you've never been anywhere, not saying that going to eating at that amazing restaurant I can never remember the name of in Morocco is the same thing as going to Morocco, but at least you would.
It's a taste of the country.
Well, that's what I was going to say. At least you've experienced Moroccan food, and you may say, I like this, I don't like this, whatever. That's everybody's personal preference. But at least you've been exposed to something, and maybe it tweaks you, and you go, hey, maybe I'd really like to go to, Italy or France or whatever. So I think Disney's brilliant for that as well. Animal Kingdom, I don't know if you've been to Animal Kingdom, Jim. Absolutely cool. My favorite thing is Asia, where you go through it's like an old beat up temple, and you go through, and there's tigers, and there's all that kind of stuff. For some reason, there's something about that one that makes me,
I haven't been to Animal Kingdom though since they've added the Avatar experience, because when I went to Animal Kingdom, there was only during the day. You couldn't go at night because it closed during the night, and it was still being built out. I think it was a great idea. I think it was an interesting park. The only ding I ever gave Disney on that park is they didn't put it on the monorail system. They didn't run a line, run the monorail over to it. Right. So you can't just get there like every other park. And that's something I'm surprised, especially with as much as Disney, pushed that they wanted to have the monorail get you everywhere. Right.
Agreed.
But a great park. I mean, I know it's had a lot of dings. People seem to either love or hate Animal Kingdom, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I think it's, they've really only got one really exciting ride, the Mount Kilimanjaro ride, which is really good. Never done it. It's fantastic. It's great. You get to the top, and the track is broken, and you finish the ride going backwards, and it's just absolutely freaking cool. But, boy, we were talking about things coming and going. One of the things that, and I know this is going to sound funny, but one of the things that I loved the most about Animal Kingdom was the Bugs Life show.
Yes.
It was the 3D Bugs Life show. It was not 3D, but it was gorgeous, and it was fun. And you went down inside, and Flick, kept coming out of the ceiling and talking to you, and that was super sweet. And then talking about the Muppets, the Muppet 3D show at Hollywood MGM is going away as well. Or they're talking about putting it someplace else because...
Hell, I remember when Captain EO was done at Disneyland, and that was my favorite. That was Michael Jackson.
Oh, you went all the way back to Captain EO. I remember that as well.
I've been there a lot further back than that, sir.
Well, okay. I think the first time I went, I was 8. So that would have been what, 76?
I mean, if you lived in California as I did, that was just it was a 6-hour, 7-hour drive at most, and you could be Disneyland, right? And we'd go down holidays, weekends, whatever, because it wasn't as expensive. It's still expensive, and it has gotten more expensive. There weren't all the stuff that they have now, like there was no fast passes and special lanes and apps to sign up on. And nowadays, you need to know your stuff. I was doing some research for a friend on going to the park and looking at all the ticket options. He's disabled. So I'm looking at going, what in the hell do you do for somebody, right? When I went, we had a disabled person. We just went and got a wheelchair at the front door, and they took us and said we could jump every line with that. It was not a problem. We're the reason now that you have to have all these special passes, But people did that, and they started doing it, So, but yeah.
And you made a good point. If you're going to go to Disney World, I mean, let's just be realistic. The lines are crazy. I mean, to me, the best thing about Disney World is also the most problematic thing about Disney World. And so I go back to King's Dominion, which, like I said, is an hour up the road. And you were talking about being local. I mean, yeah, if you live near Orlando, you get a season pass because it's right around the corner. Why wouldn't you? A lot of folks around here get season passes to King's Dominion because it's an hour away. Hey, you wake up on a Saturday morning and go, yeah, let's go. But with a place like King's Dominion, for example, and other places like Busch Gardens and all that, you're mostly going for the rides. Sure, there's some shows. Sure, there's some restaurants. But you're mostly going for the rides. So you've got 20 rides of various interest and excitement or whatever. And so your lines are not going to be that crazy. What Disney does is there are a handful of, there's lots of shows and all that, which great, that takes people out of the lines. But there's only a handful of major attractions. They're phenomenal, all of them, but that creates lines. So you're right. If you're going to go, do a little research, like Jim said, go on Disney's website, go on YouTube. There are plenty of people to tell you exactly how, what tickets you should get, what times of day you should do this. Like, for example, I know when we were there, I think my son was 15 or 16. So let's call it 15 years ago, 14, 15 years ago, we got to Animal Kingdom like the minute they opened, whatever it was, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, I don't remember. And it had just rained. And I'm not kidding you, we were one of maybe 200 people in the entire park for the first hour. Like nobody was there. So we went on Kilimanjaro 3 times. We literally came off, got back on and everything else because we knew that was probably going to be it for the day. And we were right. Within an hour, the line was incredibly long. But we got to ride it early and that was cool. But you have to be careful and smart and, don't try to get on any roller coasters at night when the fireworks are going on because the line's going to be 4 hours long. I mean, it just is what it is. It's just, you have to be smart about.
The hack here is there's a couple things I think you got to think about when you go to Disney. One is it's no longer a last minute experience. You can't just wake up and say, I'm going to go.
Nope.
Do your research, buy your tickets. The pandemic changed Disney's whole concept of how you come and go to the park. There's reservations. They have to meet capacity goals. Even now, after the pandemic restrictions are lifted, they've actually come to admit, well, we can only take so many people in the park. And I was there one year for New Year's Eve and felt the crush of how many people will come into a park. And when you're trying to get out and all those people are heading to the gate, it's herd mentality. You just go. Don't veer off the path. So, buy your passes, think early. Don't go on a holiday. Don't go at a peak time because everybody else wants to go. Look at when if you want to see Christmas in Disney, look at when they started. It's usually somewhere around October or something. And you got enough time to go see it. But don't push yourself to go the week between Christmas and New Year's because everybody else is doing that. If you don't have kids, find a time to go during the middle of the week that is different and do take advantage of. They have early openings. If you stay at hotels, you can go have breakfast with the cast. They have an hour early in, so you get beyond the ropes before everybody else. Do those things and make sure you give yourself the time to enjoy each park. Don't think I will admit I've done 2 Disney parks at Disney World the same day. I don't know how I did it, but I was young and stupid, I would never do that again. You've got to give each park at least a day. And that can be a week in Disney World, right? I mean, that's very fast, a week. So, don't cut yourself short. Make sure you give yourself time. Know that things are going to be different. You got to know your app. You got to make your plans. You got to look everything up. Be prepared. It's a real good place to get yourself ready before you get there, And then go ahead.
Well, I say, and also not to be a downer, but be realistic about who you are and what you can do. You are going to be pounding pavement a lot. And it is worth it. It is an absolute blast. Disney is the cleanest park you will ever be in your life. It's nuts how clean it is. It almost feels surreal because what they've done is they built it as a circle out. So there's 2 floors, at least 2, maybe 3 floors underneath each of the park where everything goes on. And then they built it as a facade. It's a circle out. So everybody works inside. So if you drop something on the ground, somebody's popping out of a door that you don't see and picking it up and gone. And you're like, where did it? Like, I'm serious. If you've never been there, folks, it's the cleanest place on earth. It's almost spooky how clean it is, and that's a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong, but you're like, how many millions of people are working here cleaning up after everybody?
Even the characters when they come and go, right? It's like suddenly pop out of a wall somewhere,
Right, but be realistic about yourself. If you have problems, if you have mobility problems and walking is a strain for you,
get a scooter.
Yeah, well, get a scooter. And even if you get a scooter, you might want to give yourself 2 days for each park because there's a lot of, I'm just saying, I mean, I'm a healthy guy and I'm a speed walker and everything else, but it'll when you lay down at bed at night, you know you've been walking. Your body's telling you you've been there and done it.
People will test your patience. I mean, you're walking through a line and you're getting, ankled by strollers, you're getting pushed by people who aren't watching. Just understand, take it all with a breath and enjoy the fact that you're in Disney. Listen to the music in the background and, go to your happy place.
Right. Because it is the happiest place on earth.
It's supposedly, yeah, as they say, right? We have one in the world. So, and it's interesting. So Disney Paris getting a whole new life. People seem to be finally appreciating that Disney's in Paris. That park went for a long time without much love. Disney in Japan, they have two now, right? Because there's Tokyo and I forget where the other one's at. Both owned by the Oriental Land Company. And I believe they are getting a cruise line. They're getting the one they bought that was the already built, but had to just be retrofitted. It's huge, 7,000 passengers. That's just going to run in Asia. Okay. And then, as was announced in the last few months, there will be a Disney coming to Abu Dhabi and Dubai, right? I think so. That will be interesting because I want to see how Disney mixes with Dubai's culture, because there's a lot of love for things American in Dubai and experiences American. But I don't know if Jasmine's going to be allowed to go around without her face covered. I mean, she might have to be legitimate. I mean, that's her country, right? So I don't know. I'm not doing that to be anything. I'm just saying, what happens when a country has a different stance? I'm not, again, please don't hate us for saying it. I'm just speaking that there'd be a different cultural experience.
What I have learned about this podcast is every week Jim's going to put his foot over the line and then go, I didn't mean to put my foot over the line.
For those people who know me and watch this, one thing everyone knows about me is that I will draw the line and then I will stand right across it. And then I'll draw a line and I'll go across it. And I'm notorious for that, which may be why I don't stay in the corporate world long, because I know it's just me, but sometimes I'm saying what you're thinking. So, it was not meant to be a slight. I'm very curious. How do you take an American cultural experience, put it in a country that has a very different cultural experience, and make it work? And Jasmine is the one that always comes to my head because, she's sort of your Arabian princess. She's the one that represents that area.
All right. So I'm taking this shovel away from you. The hole is deep enough.
There's more. I can make more.
Well, but no, it's funny you said that because I've thought about that when they opened one in Japan, and I thought, if there was ever anything as big and boisterous, as loud as America, it's Disney, and I don't mean that in a negative way by any means, but it's big and it's in your face.
I mean, Japan loves Americana.
Right, but then I thought, how's that going to go in Japan, where people are very reserved and very, the culture. Obviously, it's doing fine. They opened a second one, but I did remember when they opened that, I thought, how's that? And of course, we all thought, let's be realistic. When they opened one in Paris, we were like, it's not going to go. It's just Parisian.
We've had experiences where it didn't go as well as planned, right? I mean, Disney, Paris.
Obviously, it's catching on now. Anybody who's been to Paris and knows anything about French people would be like, Disney? But it's
not anywhere near Paris, which is the funny part, right? It's like an hour outside.
But still, the French, I mean, it took a while to catch on, and I don't think that surprised any of us. I'm glad it's catching on. Good for Disney. But yeah, that was one of the ones where I was like, but that just goes to show you, and this is probably, we should probably start wrapping up. This is the last thing I'll say about Disney, but that's, and not to sound hokey, but that's the magic of Disney, that I think it does cross cultures. I think the fantasy of it and everything, I think that tweaks the little kid in all of us, no matter where you grew up.
It's an American brand that has a way of getting everyone interested and not losing it when maybe Americans lose popularity, right?
Right.
Everybody still loves Disney, even if they may not like us.
Sure. Because you can only be so mad at Mickey Mouse. I mean, he's just the, he's the embodiment of childhood.
Yeah. So my takeaway from this is, first of all, I got to stop bringing shovels to the podcast, apparently. But, Disney is now both land and sea. Mm-hmm. I'm sure if there ever comes a time, Disney will be the first one to go outer space. They'll be the first theme park.
Sure.
But Disney, there's something for everybody, no matter what your age is. For us folks who are in our later years, Disney is a reminder of our childhood, and it's all that fun. For folks who have kids, it's a place to take your kids for all the experiences they see on their movies and stuff. And the parks are still good. The value is still there.
Mhm.
They're worth going to. I still think it brings a lot of fun. It will always bring a smile. So my takeaway is don't let Disney not be on your list to go to. Make it happen. Chuck and I can help you. Chuck's probably better than me, but we can both help you with getting into Disney. We are able to sell you Disney access, Disney cruises, Disney parks. The parks, we can get some good deals sometimes on getting you tickets, but the hotels and all that, we can get you set up, and it's fun to sell. It's a magic. It's like you said, it's the magic place on earth. And, I think Disney's a great value for families.
I agree completely. So we're going to wrap it up now. Folks, thank you. This is episode 5 in the bag. Or are we 6?
This is 6. Wow. I did it last week with saying 4 and it was 5.
Wow.
Now we're on 6. Hey, so here's the thing. We got 10 actual subscribers on YouTube. 10 subscribers. They're on the other platforms too. That's a big win. So much so that YouTube told us that, hey, you got 10 subscribers. I'm sitting there going, tell me when it's 100. Tell me when it's all right. But that was great. So thank you for doing that. A lot of podcasts don't make it past episode 3. And one of the big things we did was we drew a line and said we'd cross it. But we appreciate it. Please share with your friends. Hopefully by now you see, if you've been following us, that this is not a nuts and bolts, cruise news, travel news channel. This is fun. We are looking at guest speakers eventually. We're always open to hearing topics you might want to hear us discuss. We're trying to make this fun. This is our stories with some facts, with some fiction, with some, things you can do. But we appreciate you for being a follower so far. And we ask you to share this with your friends, talk about it, tell them about the 2 goofballs you see on this podcast every week.
Please do, folks. Please, my wife's been telling her friends about it. I can't believe she'll sit and watch it. Let me know we're doing something right. So, because she gets plenty of me as it is. But anyway, yeah, thank you, folks. Like and subscribe. We'll be back next week with more exciting facts and fun and travel tips and all things travel. My name is Chuck Longerbeam, Clears Planner in Virginia. My co-host.
I'm Jim Hauck from Dallas, Texas. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks for spending your time at Life in the Baggage Claim.
Thank you, folks.